I know I'm not the only one. One of the biggest surprises you'll find in management, consulting, or leadership positions is realizing that the biggest obstacle to change isn't always the employees. Sometimes it's the person who hired you. When organizations bring in a manager, consultant, or experienced employee, it's usually because they want improvement. They want better processes, better systems, better communication, and better results. They'll ask for your ideas, they'll listen to your recommendations. They may even agree with everything you're saying. But eventually, there comes a moment when the conversation shifts from talking about change to actually implementing change. And that's where the resistance begins. Because no matter how good an idea is, every change requires someone to do something differently. Sometimes the process is wrong that they are currently implementing, but it's familiar and it still gets the job done. Sometimes the system is inefficient, but it doesn't directly affect the decision maker, so they're not really bothered by it. Or sometimes the solution creates more work in the short term, even though it creates better results in the long term, which is what you want. And that's where many improvement efforts stall. They just come to a dead end. If you work in management, consulting, or process improvement long enough, you'll eventually learn a difficult lesson. A good recommendation and a willing organization are not always the same thing. You can identify the problem, you can provide a solution to the problem, you can clearly communicate all the benefits of the solution to the problem, and leadership can still decide not to move forward. That doesn't automatically mean the recommendation was wrong. Sometimes the organization simply isn't ready to make the changes required to get the results that they said they wanted. And that's an important distinction to be able to make because many managers and consultants leave these situations questioning themselves when the reality is that implementation requires commitment from leadership. Your responsibility is to identify opportunities, provide solutions, and communicate the benefits. What leadership chooses to do with those recommendations is ultimately their decision. So don't measure the value of your work solely by whether every recommendation gets implemented. Sometimes your job is just to provide the roadmap and that's it. Whether they choose to follow it up is on them.